All right, everyone. Hello and welcome in to Your Comments, My Reactions, our video. This is our group collaborative project here on our small corner of Vikings internet. Yesterday in the post-game video, I told you to leave me a comment following the Minnesota Vikings win over the Chargers by the final of 27-20, and you have done this once again. This is your opportunity to be heard, to take the pulse of the Vikings fan base and give you, the audience, a position to amplify yourself, if you will, as we broadcast this out to our hundreds and hundreds of viewers. So you guys left a lot of comments. I have picked about 9 here. We're going to get into them right now. Before we do that, actually, quick note. It's kind of funny how well the videos do here on this channel after the Vikings lose compared to after they win. So like last week, the post-game video did like 5,000 to 6,000 views, and then yesterday was about 500, which, you know, I don't care. No big deal. I'm glad to get 2, 10, 20 if that's the case. But that's just wild. I think that says something about us as a fan base, where when we lose, and especially in the manner that where it happened, where we completely predicted it against the Ravens, we're just like, all right, time to log on, and it's time to complain. So after we win, we're all a little settled down. We're like, okay, all right, not going to yell at you today. Maybe we'll save that for later. So anyway, just wanted to point that out because I thought that was funny. Anyway, your comments, got them right here. Let's begin. First comment comes from Violet Valkyrie. They say, the Vikings fan in me enjoyed watching them win, but the realist in me knows that win just prolongs the tenure of Zimmer. It definitely does not equate to a Super Bowl run. So I picked this comment to be first because I think that this is a good point of departure to remind ourselves that we need to keep our expectations in check. So this was the real first complete, beginning to end, even though it had some mistakes and some turnovers in it, where we can feel like the Minnesota Vikings put their best product on the field and they were able to win a football game decisively, or about as decisively as they could with what they did. Is it, you know, a 37-7 throttling like we saw some teams suffer during Week 10? No, it's not that. Is it way better and way more to the style of football that we've wanted to see out of this team for probably a year and a half? Yes, absolutely. Having said all of that, remember who this team is. Remember this coaching staff. It's nice to enjoy the win, and we absolutely should enjoy the wins when they come. And just, you know, kind of take this as a glass half full approach. You know, Justin Jefferson got the amount of targets that he did. That is fantastic. The younger players are stepping up. You know, those are good takeaways. The fact that this buys Mike Zimmer time, at least until the end of the season, because I think him being fired midseason is off the table unless, you know, the worst apocalyptic outcome could happen against the Packers next week. It does buy him at least until the end of the year. So we're going to see what happens with that. But, you know, it's just something to keep in mind. You know, let's not get out in front of our skis just because they came up with a good game plan and they executed it for the first time in what feels like a month. All right. So that's a very good comment to start with. Next comment comes from Moosebeard. They say, I liked Zimmer's post commentary on insisting Kirk throw the ball to our playmakers and not stupid 5-yard wasted passes. So yes, that was good. He said that yesterday in the post-game press conference, that they encouraged Kirk Cousins to get the ball into the hands of Justin Jefferson. And it's the same thing that we've been screaming at each other here for like a month now. It's like, how are you wasting this top 5 wide receiver talent in Justin Jefferson with 4 targets a game, 5 targets a game? Like, what are we doing? Why are we throwing so many passes to CJ Ham and Chris Herndon and Tyler Conklin? But, you know, Conklin's pretty good tight end. He's coming into his own this year. And it's good to see that somebody in the coaching staff acknowledged it. Like, I don't know who's pulling the strings on this sudden offensive game plan change, but I'm going to guess that it was probably more so Kirk and more so Zimmer than Clint Kubiak. And they probably pressured him like, guy, like, dude, like, you're the play caller here. Let's go give Kirk the opportunity to push the ball down the field. And that's what they did. So it's a good thing to see that they're publicly acknowledging that this is something that they need to do. Next comment comes from Mr. Noble Man of Love. They say, can we be more dynamic with plays scripted for Kene or DD, and is KJ AWOL? So 2-part question here, 2-part answer. Yes, we could absolutely be more dynamic with Kenny Nwangu scripted into the offense. DD Westbrook, I don't think so. I think if he was going to break into the offensive game plan by now, he would have, but it looks like he's just a special teams contributor in the return game on punts and kicks. So it is what it is with that, and I'm fine. You know, I would have expected more out of him given what he was able to accomplish in Jacksonville, but he's just the player that never broke out. And I believe this is like, what, his fourth, fifth year in the league. But I thought there was better things that were going to happen with Dede, and it just hasn't happened. But yes, to Kenny Nwangu being making the offense more dynamic, absolutely. As far as KJ Osborne goes, I know it feels like he was AWOL yesterday, but he was missed on a couple of plays by Kirk Cousins that probably would have resulted in touchdowns. One in the first quarter, and then I believe one in the second or third. I don't quite remember what play it was, but he would have been open on a post route down the sideline. So it's not that he's AWOL. It's just the fact that the game plan was to get the ball into the hands of the best players, and those three best players happen to be Cook, Jefferson, and Thielen. So Osborne, unfortunately, is not going to be part of that conversation when the game plan is focused on them. Next comment comes from Brady McKay. They say, I think this is still a bad team. We can't consistently beat good teams. Hopefully they can prove me wrong and string together more wins. So this is also a very good criticism of what we saw yesterday. Think about this game that just happened with the Los Angeles Chargers and the last time that this team put together a performance where you were like, yes, that's it. That's what I want to see. That was week 3 against the Seahawks, right? This is week 10. So we just saw nearly 2 months of bad football sandwiched in between an impressive win over Seattle and a pretty good win over the Chargers. And, in hindsight, not that this is college football or anything, but it's not like, your opponent doesn't win any more games the rest of the season and makes you look bad. But it kind of makes us look bad because of what Seattle has become. Having just been shut out by the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau for Russell Wilson's first game back. Seattle isn't the danger that we all thought that they were in the NFC anymore. They're on a really down bad year, but still got to give credit where credit is due to the Vikings to have won that Seattle game the way that they did. So, think about that as we go forward. We just had our first really good game since week 3 and it's week 10. So a lot of bad football was sandwiched in between that. And that's something to keep in mind. Next comment comes from T. Johnson. They say, should we keep Bynum at safety or corner even after Harrison comes back? So, unfortunately, Mike Zimmer was not going to do this. He's going to play Mike Zimmer and Xavier Woods, but it's at least good to know that Cam Bynum is waiting in the wings on the depth chart, and he's probably going to take over for Xavier Woods next year. So he will get a starting role for 2022. As far as the rest of this year goes, I hope that there's some kind of defensive package where he can be involved, even if it's just to throw him out there like on a third down and let him blitz off the line of scrimmage like we saw yesterday. Something. Get him involved. Get him some snaps. Getting him some meaningful football play. That's all I think we want at this point. But no, I don't think that he's going to. I would maybe consider it, but Mike Zimmer's too loyal to his guys. So Harrison Smith and Xavier Woods will be the starters. Next comment comes from Thoris Rock. I don't know how to pronounce that. Hope I did it right. So what will the outlook be if we get pounded by the Pack next week compared to the feeling of satisfaction we are basking in today? I think if we are destroyed by the Green Bay Packers this upcoming Sunday, we are going to revert right back to where we were after the Ravens game. And I think if it's a close game, we're probably okay. We're probably like, okay, yeah, Green Bay Packers, pretty good team. One of the best teams in the NFC. They came in and stole one from home. We split with the Packers. We'll get them next time when we go to Lambeau. I think if it's a close game, everybody will chill out. If it's a bad game and we get obliterated, or if we just make a ton of mistakes and can't get it out of our own way, we're going to go right back to how we were, a bunch of sourpusses before we beat the Chargers. And that's important why we started out with that first comment where we keep our expectations in check so that we aren't jumping off the bridge if worse comes to worse, which it absolutely can happen. It's totally within the cards for the Vikings to have a piss-poor performance against Green Bay at home for Week 11. Next comment comes from R. Emmer 23. They say, can the recent defensive efficiency be attributed to the simplified scheme to help accommodate young guys / backups? You know what? Possibly, but I kind of want to give more credit to the younger guys and the backups. As badly as I have been ripping them, and many others have as well, since the preseason, they kind of showed up, and it's something that was necessary. So I think Cam Bynum stepping into his own, having changed positions now that he's in the NFL. He was a corner at Cal, now he's a safety, and then he goes in for Harrison Smith when he's been studying to be Xavier Woods' backup. So I got to give all the credit in the world to Cam Bynum. You know, whatever the scheme was, whether it was complex, nuanced, or easy, I think Cam Bynum deserves the praise, and not so not so much that Mike Zimmer was dumbing down his scheme so that the younger guys and backups could acclimate accordingly. So, you know, maybe it's a little bit of both, but in this instance, I want to give the credit to the players. That's what I would want to do. Next comment comes from Rainmaker. They say, have we seen the last of Garrett Bradbury? Mason Cole has been solid 2 weeks in a row. I think, yeah, I think that's it. I think Garrett Bradbury's done. We saw in the press conference today, here on Monday, Mike Zimmer talk about, he was actually directly asked that question, and his answer was something to the effect of, that's a conversation that we need to have. Garrett Bradbury's been out for a couple of weeks, and we need to see what happens in practice this week. So that's going to be something to keep a real sharp eye on. But I think Mason Cole has earned another opportunity to start. And I'm sorry, Garrett Bradbury, the question has been answered about what the fate of him is with this Minnesota Vikings franchise. And he's probably going to be looking at another team next year. Because Mason Cole is good enough where there isn't enough drop off in terms of play in order for the Vikings to be like, boy, we better get Bradbury back in there, otherwise this is not going to work. So it's actually the opposite. Keep Bradbury out. That's just, it is what it is at this point. Final comment comes from Larry Ives. They say, do you believe the Packers are primed for a loss? And if the Vikings are able to win, could this be the start of a win streak like they've done before? 2 questions, 2 answers. 1, no, I don't think the Packers are primed for a loss. They've been playing elite championship defense for the better part of this last month. You know, they've gone up against Patrick Mahomes, took him to the woodshed. They went up against Russell Wilson just this past Sunday, took him to the woodshed. They've been doing it without Jari Alexander, which is the part that scares the hell out of me, because once he comes back, which he might come back this Sunday, that defense just gets better. They are a little bit banged up. You know, they've got some superstars out. David Bakhtiari. Aaron Jones is probably going to be out for the next 1 to 2 weeks with his MCL sprain. So, yeah, they keep finding ways to win, despite the fact that they've had some really good players miss significant amounts of time. So, and then there's always Aaron Rodgers, who is the wild card because he can put this team in his backpack and carry them to victory. So I don't think that they're primed for a loss. I think that they're right about where they should be. And they've been dominant as hell since that week one loss that was embarrassing to the Saints. As far as the Vikings, if they're able to pull off a win and go on a winning streak here, yeah, totally seeable, because, you know, the rest of the opponents the rest of the way aren't looking very good. You know, the 49ers are a mess. The Steelers just tied with the Lions. The Bears will definitely probably sweep or split with them. We have one more game with the Packers after that. We have one more game with the Lions, totally winnable. I believe that's going to be at Ford Field. The last remaining the last remaining intimidating game, I think personally, is the Rams. And I'm not trying to undersell any of the other games. Still super dangerous. You know, Green Bay and Lambeau, probably going to lose that. Chicago, or the Bears in Chicago, probably going to lose that. But the Rams game is terrifying, what might happen with that. So, and they're actually going to play tonight against the 49ers, so we'll see. But yeah, a win streak by this Vikings team, I could see that happening. It's such an enigma because I could see them going on a losing streak as well, where they can't get out of their own way and they play down to their competition and they revert to the team that we saw them as they were against the Lions, Panthers, and the Ravens and the Cowboys. So we're in for a wild ride. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's going to do it for me. Those are your comments, my reactions, our video, our group collaborative project here on our small corner of Vikings Internet. Let me know what you think of my responses in the comments below to this video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.